podcast. Sorry, hosted by Respect My Region. I'm the host today. I'm Grant Patterson. How are you doing, Alana?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So yeah, guys, today we are hosting having Alana Cohen here. She will be talking to us about public relations. She'll be talking to us about media, marketing, all those things in the cannabis space. So if you want to just kind of go ahead and introduce yourself and what do you do, Alana?
Sure. My name is Ilana Cohen. As you said, I am a publicist for cannabis companies as well as CBD and psychedelics, as well as thought leaders and then cultivators, dispensaries, anyone that has been working in this space for any type of reason. We also represent a lot of different kinds of initiatives and advocacy work that has to do with people incarcerated for crimes for marijuana and trying to help them get out of jail. And then also it's a lot of learning and teaching the community and everyone that we're trying to reach out to about cannabis. And my personal reason is because a lot of it I have a very strong opinion and feeling about.
Mm-hmm.
And being a medical patient is makes it even more important that people really learn about not just the benefits of it being medical, but also, I think all of us, especially in, people that are following this region with you guys,
Right.
have our reasons. But at the end of the day, a lot of us just really do enjoy it being, calms us down, does something where maybe you would have cracked a beer, but now you might smoke a joint.
Right.
And for me, that's why I want my clients to be able to speak medically, but of course in layman's terms. And I think the biggest thing right now that I do as a publicist is really make sure that my clients are making the community aware of them, not just trying to sell their product, but also being a part of the cannabis community. Because I think that something so new and something so kind of still taboo and off the cuff as
Yeah.
cannabis and working in it, I think that's when we have to really make sure that that education is there. So I have the opportunity to work with really cool clients, like Helisic devices and all that,
Yeah.
dabbers and their switch. And those are all really great. And I love that part of it. But the best part of it is when you're really getting to tell the community and then the nation really about these amazing people in the industry and what they're all doing.
Okay, so I know you did PR and marketing and things like that before the cannabis space, also, right? Like you started
Right.
outside of the cannabis space.
I did, yes. I started out actually in the restaurant and hospitality space, which
Okay.
is what I had planned to do after college. I interned in those types of PR settings
Hmm.
and I loved it. I got to do what I wanted to do. When I
Yeah.
got to help restaurants, but I specifically did restaurant launches, which I thought was great. And I think that translated very well to any type of PR or communications I was
Hmm.
working in. It showed me how to launch a brand, launch a restaurant, have hotels and events and how to get those out to the people with
Yeah.
promotion. And then, when you think about it, that's basically what I'm doing for the dispensaries as well,
Hmm.
because we're doing dispensary launches and we're doing samples for whatever type of day it is, whether it be 420 or 710. And that's definitely something that you can bring together from whatever type of PR you're doing.
Yeah.
And like I said, restaurants, and I still love to work with them. Not
Hmm.
just being able to bring these young chefs out and get them known, but also to just, it was great food.
Right.
The-
That's always a plus.
a lot of free meals and food, and it was quite lovely. And it was great because I got to learn the restaurant scene in Chicago, and it's something I actually didn't really know about in Chicago because I grew up and like couldn't eat a lot of that stuff because I kept kosher. So now it's I explored the world a little bit more, but for me, public relations was always about helping people,
Right.
and I know and I wanted to be able to help people in a way that also meant something to me.
Yeah.
And restaurants and hospitality, it's a great industry and I loved doing it. But I think sometimes you have to move on or pivot with the times and see what
Transition a
I
little
want to
bit.
do.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then I went on to a company that was doing a lot of non GMO and vegan and
Oh, okay.
gluten free. And then we got into cruelty free beauty. And then we started working on CBD. And that's really where my interest not started, because I had already gone through the process of becoming a medical patient and
Hmm.
learning about everything in Illinois and the other states. But once I got to have CBD clients, it was a very good stepping stone to
Yeah.
get into cannabis, which is what I wanted to be doing. I started it freelancing in it because there wasn't any agencies that were specifically cannabis agencies.
Hmm.
And then they started popping up. And I waited it out. I said, I'm not going to go back to a PR job that just isn't something I want to be doing right now.
Hmm.
And I kept freelancing in the cannabis space as I could while other companies were growing. And actually, I was interviewed in High Times by Andrew Ward, who writes for a lot of different publications, Benzinga, Green Market Report. And I mean, he's just absolutely amazing.
Hmm.
And he was interviewing people about mental health and cannabis. And, I was more than happy and wanted to be able to respond to that, because then I got to tell my story about how I, have mental health issues and cannabis, and how it, you know, came to me and my story came to be. But because I started this relationship with Andrew, he actually reached out to me because this new agency was hiring for a publicist, and they were cannabis,
Okay.
everything cannabis. And he sent them my resume and I interviewed with them, and it was probably the best choice I've made in this industry so far, because
Okay.
that was the door to a lot of amazing things that I've been working on and gonna continue to work on, and to get to know people in the cannabis industry, not just clients, as most of us know, or it's the community is everything to us. And it's
Yeah,
great to be
definitely.
able to work in being from Chicago, but the whole team is from somewhere else. So it's great to have clients all over the country, and we have some, all over the world.
Hmm.
And everyone being able to come together in this new, whole new world of
Yeah, definitely.
and the new alcohol, and even for healings and just people to hang out and have fun. And
Hmm.
it's definitely progressed since I started working in cannabis PR. But we for sure have a long way to go.
I hear you. And so you're saying you're kind of spread out, and the company you work with is spread out. Does it vary a lot state to state how you apply like your marketing tactics and PR tactics and stuff? Does it
Yeah.
adjust a lot, or is it kind of generic?
I would say the basis and the shell of a strategy that we do for clients is, the standard onboarding process of asking them what their goals are, and, what they want to highlight about
Hmm.
themselves, picking up quotes. But the thing is, as we all know, every state is completely different with
Yeah.
their laws, with what they can sell in a dispensary, with what they can't. Cultivation laws are different, and then everything is different, and it goes by state. So let's say I was working on a Delta 8 product, and there were
Okay.
a couple, and it got banned and was become illegal in many different states. It didn't happen
Hmm.
here in Illinois, where I do have a Delta 8 client. So they were fine, but everyone was worried because they were going to lose all this product. And then I had a client in Vermont that just came out with their Delta 8 pre-rolls, and
Hmm.
then they had to trash the product because there was no way they could sell them anymore because it became illegal. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of hoops everyone has to jump through in
Yeah.
the cannabis industry, just like many others. But the way the states work, it's not just like the Midwest has these rules, and then the East Coast has
Yeah.
these rules, and then it's just like and it's not that like everywhere is going to be exactly the same. Even if it's legal or medical, it's not going to look the same either. I
No.
was in Michigan the other weekend at a dispensary, actually at a couple, and being from Illinois, where they're not they're still sort of medical. It's not like,
Yeah.
as fun to go into, but they're still great.
It's
So I went to
but I agree. It's not fun to go into. Like you don't look forward to going to go chill at the dispensary or something,
it's,
going to the
I
dispensary.
mean, yeah, I feel they're a little medical still feeling, and we still are super new. But Michigan is doing it right because they have been in the game so long. And it's just amazing because I walk into the dispensaries with my friend and I'm a kid in the candy store. Like I did not want to leave. I couldn't, all of the different, like I couldn't even think what
They
I
have so
wanted.
many brands and options over there. It's like
And the
unbelievable,
sales, I was like, I'm never leaving here.
and the
And
prices.
oh my God, the prices were just, I couldn't believe
Yeah.
it. I might have passed out, or I would have bought the whole store. It's just, see, that's another thing. Michigan, yes, it's farther, about 5 hours away where we were, but the price difference is so different.
Less than half.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
absolutely shocked. And, I hope one day that other states where it's very expensive can get to that point.
Yeah.
And I think that when it's an experience like they have, like I just had, it was Kalkushka, which is
Okay.
the first legal smoking lounge in Michigan,
Oh,
owned by
how
Rush
was it?
Chambers. It was amazing. It was something, I know when you go to a lot of different smoking lounges, which there aren't many, of course, they either feel like it's a restaurant and, eat very fancy, like the ones in California,
Hmm.
or you go to ones that are centric on one thing exactly. And so I was really interested to see how this one was going to be because the Michigan community there, they're amazing and so great in general in this community, but in cannabis community they are just so much more free, and it's been
Hmm.
going on there in Michigan for so much longer than it has in Chicago and other places.
And their laws
So
are set up like so much fair. Like
they are so
the way they're
different.
able to get the licensing and stuff like that is the
Yeah,
unfair like lottery system that's here in Chicago is just it's hard to get
I
behind.
know. It's always funny to think about that because, when I was there also, I just was thinking, just if we could like make these changes in Illinois or, actually get more of the licenses to get more of these craft, but, they're still fun. But then all of their bud tenders and everyone that worked there, they knew their stuff. If
Okay.
and sometimes you think maybe it looks like just a fun candy store to go get weed and cannabis and fun things, but
Mhm.
then these people that speak with you, they just know everything.
Right.
And it was funny because my friend knows pretty much everything next to my father, and it was very fun to watch them go back and forth about like their knowledge, but it was so casual and wasn't like a showdown of who knew more. So
Right.
when we went to the lounge on the opening day, we had the opportunity to go the day before as well, just kind of to get the lay of the land, feel it out, have some
Okay.
CBD snacks and smoke, and you bring your own smoking devices. And the next day was just so chill. We, I think I was sitting in a circle most of the day, just hanging out, chatting, and there's products there. Can't sell anything, but of course you can try things and people can give you giveaway stuff, and
Right. Yeah.
they had infused appetizers, and
What
they were
city was this in? I might
this
have to
was
go.
in Kalkuska, I believe, Michigan,
Okay.
and then owned by Russ Chambers, and he also has a cultivation about an
Okay.
hour away, and I highly recommend just even checking it out. It's a very, very casual setting, like I said, and it just makes you feel comfortable
Okay,
and
great.
makes
Because
you
I've
feel
been in a few lounges
whatever you
and
want.
sometimes like the lounge, um, I don't know, the feeling of some lounge is like, oh, this is kind of underwhelming. For some of
Yeah.
them, it's
Oh,
like
no,
like this
that's
could
it
be
for
fun,
sure.
but like this is kind of underwhelming sometimes. I
Yes,
don't know. That's how the
absolutely.
feel I've gotten.
Yeah, no, and it was great to also go because everyone was there as, people who imbibe. And then also, I was
Right.
there who as myself to be invited, but also I was there as a publicist and a cannabis
Uh,
publicist. So, I'm looking around like at things that I see there or things that I see that, might be good for another client. But right now, I mean, this is where you want to be. Michigan is great state for
Mhm.
lots of reasons. But I was just looking around, that was great. They had this cozy atmosphere, and the dispensaries that are owned by them are right next door. Kind of just can
Okay.
go in, like just go on a line
That's
through.
so nice.
Yeah, and then you can go get what you bought and smoke there. And, I didn't feel at all like I was working as a publicist or like anyone was trying to sell me. We were
Yeah.
all just like talking about our own stories, and not even stories of why we're smoking. Just, these are our new friends,
It's
and whether
life.
we see each other
Yeah.
again or not. And that's very much what is the cannabis community. And I think that it would be amazing if there were other places like this, and other places that these places don't even have to be cannabis
For
lounges,
sure.
like places people could go to feel safe and talk to people that they have things in common with.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. So as a publicist, if you have a normal like day to day, what does a normal day for you look like?
Well, I will tell you, we very rarely have normal days, as
Okay.
everything pops up and anything pops up.
Hmm.
But a normal day for me, I check my emails and then first text if you think of any clients that might have texted me with 911, but
Okay.
sleeping, I probably would. And so then I read through my emails, and a lot of it is either journalists getting back to me and us coordinating interviews. And then so I want to get through those first, because you always want to be the first one to get back to the media, so you have the
Hmm.
best chance. And then as I go through my media lists and the emails, I just look at everyone I have to respond to, and what I have to write that day. PR, we don't just get clients in the news, we have to do that somehow. And
Oh yeah.
so a lot of my time is also spent writing either press releases for clients that have big announcements coming up, or if they have a big new charity initiative, anything that they really want to blast out to the media, then
Hmm.
we'll craft that for them. And then we will send it out to our resources and our contacts. So
Okay.
I do a lot of that, and building media list of who's the correct type of people to reach out to, and who would probably want to interview my client, or talk about how we could do a partnership. And then a lot of it is just crafting emails on really getting these people to be interested in what we're talking about. And
Okay.
that's where that we really do have to know what we're talking about. And I think that
Yeah.
that also is an issue in many parts of the industry, such mine as well as cannabis in general, working, or
I.
people, bartenders working at dispensaries, where there's a lot of knowledge missing,
Hmm.
because not to their fault. And it's great that these young people are getting jobs in the cannabis industry and working as bud tenders. But when you walk into a dispensary and you're talking to someone who doesn't know about cannabis, or about
Yeah.
terpenes and cannabinoids, and like how any of these things work, and they just know what's kind of going to get you the most high.
Hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for on the recreational side. But in the medical side, they definitely want better service, recommendations,
Yeah.
education. I see myself a lot of the time going in as a customer, and even not with my cannabis knowledge, just being a medical user and a user in general, I could
Hmm.
answer the questions. And
Right.
so not that I'm not that's an issue too, because I think that no one's ever going to see that you really do have to know stuff. You can't. It's not just, oh, I want to work in weed.
Right.
It's a lot harder than that. And I
Yeah.
have to write articles for my clients and ghost writing, and I don't just pull it out of my ass. Sorry, pardon my French.
Yeah.
Um, you got to know something, and it's just
I
us.
agree completely.
It's nice to know something new. I get to know the fun things too. So we work a lot on that, on just trying to make people understand, especially the medical field and whoever else does not know or care to listen.
Hmm.
And then a good portion of my day is kind of just strategizing with my clients and thinking about what's coming up next in the few months or in the industry or what's happening in their state. And that's where it's very different every client you're speaking to, because if they're in a different state, your mind has to be ready to keep switching states or keep
Yeah.
switching countries. And it gets a little confusing because all of us are different. Illinois,
Mhm.
ours is not there yet. And you were talking about the lottery system. Lottery systems are crazy everywhere. And
Everywhere.
right
Like
now
it's never been done right that we've
it's
ever seen yet.
never. And yet when we look at the other countries and what's happening and around there, it's just all very different.
Hmm.
And right now we're really looking more at the Canada industry of cannabis. I've been talking to a lot of people there and about what their laws are and what they're doing. And I
Hmm.
think that they're underrated to what they actually do there and have there, because we don't have that
I'm
knowledge.
excited. I like they have a
And
lot of I'm planning on going there in a few months. And
yeah,
I'm excited to see because I know they have delivery systems and stuff like that
yeah,
set up and it's well set up in Canada and the pricing
it
is good as
is very
well.
well set up. And they keep telling me, they're like, you should just move here because, their healthcare is much better.
Yeah.
The cannabis is way more accessible. And I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? I would not be opposed to that. So
Right.
who will know? We shall see.
That's cool. So would you suggest it right now, like somebody maybe graduating college or looking for a career change? Would you suggest people try to get into the cannabis space and try to find jobs?
I definitely would absolutely recommend anyone who wants to work in cannabis
Mhm.
look into it. I definitely there's jobs out there. It
Mhm.
is a really very growing industry, so that's where it is a positive, because there are different positions and different types of jobs and different types of clients, companies, everything, horticulture, microbiology. There's a broad spectrum of people and things needed to be done in the industry. I think that the hard part is coming in right out of college, you have to know that you have to know something.
Mhm.
And a lot of things, maybe you do know a lot about cannabis, but you don't know a lot about how to sell it or how to work with
Yeah,
people or be a
for sure.
patient
The
care
behind the
representative.
scenes aspects.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I wasn't a cannabis connoisseur, publicist cannabis connoisseur when I started, but
Mhm.
it's everything is a learning opportunity and everything has a learning curve, but it's a super growing industry. And I think now that it's going more mainstream, but not just mainstream, I think more and more people, thank God, finally are not so against it or judging all of
Yeah.
us just because yes, cannabis is a drug, but it's something that helps me tremendously. I probably wouldn't be talking to you if was not being able to get my medicine, because I'm very
Mhm.
anxious and very shy my entire life. So
Okay.
I think that to work in the industry as well, you have to have that interest and you have to have that passion
Yeah,
and
I
really think
agree
about
because there's some obstacles.
there really are. And
Yeah.
a lot of it we do. We go to conferences and then there's a fun part afterwards. There is a weed smoking
Mhm.
aspect or consuming cannabis as we look at it. And it is fun, but all the time we're still talking about what we know and
Mhm.
what's changing, because the biggest part of working in cannabis or cannabis in general is what's legal, what's not legal, what's going to happen, when are we going to get these
Yeah.
products that this state has. It's all like a what if, when in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you talked about events a little bit, but do you go to a lot of live events, in-person events like often?
Yeah, it was hard because before COVID, there was you could go to many more events, Hall of
Yeah.
Flowers and MJ Biz, and actually, right before I was supposed to go to Hall of Flowers 2 years ago, the night before they canceled it because COVID had just hit.
Okay.
So that yes, but since everything's been virtual, but before that, I do go to a lot of events. I'm going to the Cannabis and CBD Drink Expo in Chicago next week. And
Okay.
you get to meet a lot of people there, which I love. And then you get to talk to them after the conference, which is really nice. And then,
Yeah.
there's parties, and
Oh,
it's how
yeah.
we network. It's a very casual industry, and it's not something where it's buttoned up and corporate. And there are big corporations as well, but
Yeah.
there's the aspect of where the cannabis brings the people together, and it brings us to have a common interest. And there's still, our community is not that big, it's still growing,
Mhm.
but being able
Yeah,
to,
a lot of people are like everybody's in the weed industry, and it's really just simply not true. There are really not very many people in
there
the weed
aren't.
industry.
Yeah, and they think when you are in it, that you're a drug dealer. And my dad
Mhm.
worked at a dispensary way before I would even got in the industry. And a
Mhm.
lot of people would be like, "So your dad sells drugs? Your dad's a drug dealer?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I guess so, but
Yeah.
legally." And it was just rude, And but a
Mhm.
lot of people, they don't know better. And then I
Right.
think everyone thinks I only know.
Absolutely, because
They're like, "Oh, so you're a stoner and that's just what you do." They're like, "You deal drugs and smoke all day." And I was like, "No." And I was like, "No." Because but people don't know what public relations are too. And I've had a lot of people tell me and say to me, "I just thought you'd like dealt drugs on the side when I heard you worked in weed." And I'm like, "First of all, it's cannabis." Secondly, this should be a
I
mess.
don't I don't understand that, but I think we're just gonna have to move past that one day. Like it'll just get past that because nobody if somebody said my dad owns a liquor store, nobody would go, "Oh, so
Plus,
your
he's an
dad's a
alcoholic.
drunk? Like he's just a drunk crawling on the ground every day?" Like people
Exactly.
don't wouldn't say that. They'd be like, "Oh, he's probably rich."
Right? Exactly. Yep. And
Yeah.
it's not at that point. But, if they want to think I'm a drug dealer, or that my dad is, yeah, but you should go to the dispensary and get from him. Tell him I said,
Absolutely. And I guess one of my last questions for you would be: do you have suggestions for people who are trying to get into, I guess, the cannabis space as a whole, but specifically even like be a publicist in the cannabis space? What would you suggest to somebody trying to make that transition?
Sure. I think everything is about talking to people and meeting people that not that can help you just move forward, but that know that sector of the industry that you want to get into.
Okay.
For communications and public relations, many of us come from different backgrounds of the industry and now work in cannabis, but we've been working on it in some facet for 6+ years.
Hmm.
So I would say try to get internships now, and take
Okay.
classes and learn things, because they have all those opportunities. It doesn't matter how old you are or where you
Right.
are in your career life. I have right now a college intern who is killing it for me. And, she never thought that she was going to be working in PR and cannabis industry.
Right.
She was looking for an internship, and I really loved her qualifications. And I think it helps because she's learning about an industry that is just going to keep blowing up. And, a lot of PR is probably going to be cannabis. So she's
Yeah.
kind of getting ready early and she could be the first one in. And then there's people, that are starting to work in it at their 60s, and they want to get into it because, maybe they're retired and they just have this great passion for cannabis, and they're engineers and scientists and agriculture backgrounds, and
Hmm.
they want to use their knowledge and what they've spent years learning into this industry that is fascinating, and they just never got the chance to work on stuff like this because it wasn't in their industry at the time. So I think
Right.
anyone has a possibility. There are lots of possibilities, but I think you need to think about it before you do it, because at the same time it is a lot of learning and legal and science, and it's fun, but it is fun, and you
For
meet a lot of
sure.
people. That's
It's
great.
tough, but it's fun. And if it's something you want to do, then it's worth it. It's worth like the tough stuff
Absolutely.
that you have to put up with consistently.
100%.
So as we close, if somebody wants to get in like touch with you for services, stuff like
Sure.
that, how do they get in touch with you?
You can email me at Elana, ELANA, at elanacohen.com. publicrelations.com.
Okay.
Or you can hit me up on Instagram at hot_publicist_shy.
Okay. Well, Alana, I really appreciate you coming on for the second
Anytime.
episode of the Midwest Cannabis Podcast. This was a fun conversation. I appreciate it.
Definitely. All right. Well,
We'll
thanks
have to
for
have you
having
on
me.
again sometime.
All right. Have a
Thank you
good
so
night,
much.
everyone.
Bye.